good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. First of all, an apology for this week. It's been gone on a bit pear shaped, but my back Monday evening it was weird. I'd done the show, sat in a chair for an hour and whatever. It was improving, and then that night it went ballistic. Without going into the detail, I then got out on the Tuesday and done that little clip you say. Hopefully, I'll be able to show it to you in a couple of minutes. And then it was improving again a little bit. And then that night it was really bad again. Wednesday during the day, it was like there was nothing wrong with me, like back to normal. I couldn't believe it. I made the big mistake, but I had to do it really, of sitting there for 10 hours going through a case stated for someone who's got a case coming up, and I had to use the books and the laptop and do all the other bits and pieces. So I sat here and done that, but for 10 hours. That night I was in agony. So last night I was in agony. Didn't get any sleep. Then went for the scan this morning, just about drove there, and every time I go round the bend on the country lane, if the car goes, if I'm going right, it hurts, right? I'm like, oh. Anyway, cut a long story short, I had the scan done. I'll see someone else this afternoon. I had another quick chat and a meeting with someone else. And again, it's slightly improved. But do remember, if I start on this show, right, and forget things, and I am literally codeined up, right, and I've just took another anti-inflammatory, and when I shut this down tonight, I'll be having hot chocolate and trying to sleep, because I haven't had any sleep yet. Well, about an hour last night. That was about it. But let me go and have a look at that. How I know the feeling. 34 years plus in construction, your back gets done in a fair bit. I'll tell you what, my back. Don't forget, I've already had a discount when I was 29. But on that scanner, has anyone ever been on one of them newfangled scanner things? They went, oh, like, you might get, don't worry about anything. You can't have this, can't have that in there, whatever. I said, yeah, just, what do you want me to do? It took me longer to get on the bed and get off of it. But laying down, I was dead still. And they said it gets really noisy and all that. So I've got no hearing aids in, right? I've got ear defenders on and earplugs, and I'm deaf. Right? I was like, not even that noisy. But there you go, that's what it is. But anyway, it's been done, so I should get the results within. This is private, by the way. I mean, I'm still waiting for the National Health Service to send me, to go to the hospital or whatever. By the way, I need to look at that letter that's on the floor, because that might be it. But, yeah, I had to pay for it privately. But when I said to the osteopath, how can I want to get a scan done? And he went, I'll refer you privately. And it was 300. It was cheap, 350. When I say cheap, it's not cheap if you ain't got the money. 350 quid, right? And then he said, just go on this link. I'll set you up on it. And he went, bang. He said, just hit that button. And it's about an hour's drive up the road, right? I swear to God. I said, you could have it done tomorrow if you want. I was like, really? And they went, yeah. It's private. It's not National Health Service. You pay, come in, do it. Their processes was like ping, 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 right? Paid the money, sent me an email, sent me the time slot, said get there 10 minutes before. I walked through the door, holding me back and everything. I was struggling to get out of the car. I walked in there and they said, just change into these blue trousers, keep the T-shirt on. And then took me into the scan room, bang, 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 straight out again. No teas, coffees, thank you, nothing. That's it, done. Bang, we'll give you the results in 4 to 5 days. What do you think of that? And it's private. I have no doubt they work for the National Health Service as well. But there's got to be money in that. One of the big machines. But they was like, the people in there, you could see them. They had all these, like, me. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind betting, because the scan took 30 minutes. I wouldn't mind betting that that place there earns more money than a mechanic's garage. Right? And they don't do that bad. But there you go. Here's the Hamlin lectures. So don't forget, sharing is caring. The more you share, the more you care. I am going to try now and see if I can bring this up on my screen. Not sure if I can actually bring it up or not. I don't know what that is. iCloud. I'm trying to bring this up on my screen. Oh, I don't want to bring any of that. I ain't got a clue where it's gone. Did anyone see the introduction? I may have to do it a slightly different way. And that's to try and bring it up on here. Let's see if I can do it like that. It may not, the sound may not come out though. But you'll see the same thing on the screen. Let's see if I can do this. Entire screen. And share sound. Share audio tab instead. No, that's what I want to do. No, screen 2. I wonder what that is. Screen 2 is this one, alright? So I'm going to share that one. Share. And then what I'm going to do is go on to there. Bring that up on the screen as full. So here we are in Brixham in Devon, and we're in the first Parliament, literally, of England in 1688, because as the army walked down here, this is the actual Parliament itself. This building was used as a Parliament for the Prince of Orange to speak to people, get organised and move on. This whole road is where the army marched all the way up towards Exeter, and then they went on towards Reading, etc. There was battles, etc., which I'll be going into more detail. But this is amazing, and there's a little plaque there that tells you that this was the first Parliament of 1688 from the Prince of Orange. So I am currently trying to, let me stop sharing, go back to my main screen. Did you all see that and hear that, by the way? And that is Devon. I'm trying to find this other book that's on here. The Holy Kingdom, Keep Their Arms. It is somewhere. It might be in the other one. There's two books. There's basically a book. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not. Oh, there it is. There's two books, right? If anyone's really interested, the Glorious Revolution and Devon, right? Devon is such a crucial shire, right, to England. There's so many things in history that have happened in Devon, right? Just down the road from me down there was a massive battle in the 1500s between the Protestants and the Catholics, right? There's a plaque down there. No one even knows it exists. They just drive through. And what's all this about? And then I went out with a particular person. I won't say his name because I know he don't like me mentioning his name on here. And his wonderful wife and their wonderful two dogs that I'm in love with, right? And we went back down into Brixham. So in Brixham, you've got the statue. And has anyone ever been to Brixham in Devon? it is the most wonderful place you can ever go to. The history of that place. There's a little museum there as well, a little tiny local museum all about the Glorious Revolution and the landing there in Torbay. And then you've got Brixham itself, just behind Brixham as you go up the hills, and all the beautiful old building, all painted in either pink or blue and pastel colours. It really stands out, right? And it's a fishing port, and a fishing was obviously originally a fishing village and expanded into a town, and it's now a larger town. But also the Queen went there on July 20th, I believe it was, 1988, to commemorate the 300 years of the English Bill of Rights. And she made a declaration to both a speech, basically, but in law it's known as a declaration because both houses of Parliament is a court in its own right. It is a court in its own right, by the way. You can be found guilty by the Speaker of contempt. They have a sergeant at arms. They can put you in the tower, even to this day, right? And it is a court, and you can be tried in that court for contempt of Parliament, etc., which I'm going to bring you on to in a couple of seconds, because contempt of sovereign and contempt of Parliament or contempt of statute is still a common law offence in this country. It's an indictable offence. What does that mean? It means you can go before a jury for it, right? Not to do with Parliament, for the fact if you ignore deliberate, and especially judges, the English Bill of Rights, and if you, as the audience, know that they are doing something that they shouldn't do to the English Bill of Rights, it's called contempt of statute, right? Because it expressly said you can't touch this statute once it's been enacted at the end of the convention period or the convention parliament. And they went ahead and did it because no one knew. Remember, there's another book here I've got, which was about Sir Edward Coke, or Cook. And the Magna Carta hadn't been used for 200 years. And he reintroduced it to the country and said, this is still law. This is the common law of England. You can't ignore this, right? Because it was a charter, which is the old way of saying statute, right? It's both by king and council, right? So, cut a long story short, we went around and we had a look at this place. And then I was taken in a wonderful vehicle all up these hills and through this, and then it took me to a big field. This isn't all on camera yet, but what we're doing is I'm gonna get another camera sorted out, and we're gonna do a proper walk around, probably in the summer, and then show people what actually happened, show the bay, but do it from our point of view and telling people what the Glorious Revolution was really about. It was a Protestant settlement, right? It was other Protestants from Holland. 3,000 of our soldiers had exiled themselves to Holland to ask Prince of Orange and via his wife, Princess Mary, to come to England and take back England from the Catholics. Right now, I'm not having a go at Catholics here, right? But the Jesuits are a serious problem then, and a serious problem now, right? That's why in 1829 we banished them from England, right? Again. So the point I'm trying to get at here is Landy, I'm going to find a nickname for him, right? Has took us up to this area. So when they come off the ships, they went up to this area just behind Brixham, right? And there's a plaque there where he actually got off the rowing boat from the ship, right? And disembarked from that, and that's where the plaque is from the Queen. And then round the corner is the actual statue of him. I've got some other stuff on my other laptop, which I'll probably put into it as well. But the most important thing is this area is still there, and it's where the army convened itself, right? and they all got ready to go, and then they marched up this country lane. Well, the exact country lane they marched in is still there, right? So we've drove up that country lane. It's lovely, right? You think this is real history, and it's still here. And then we drove up, and then Landy said to me, there it is. And I'm looking, and I said, what's that then? And he went, like, to me, it was a thatched cottage. He said, that's the first parliament of the Glorious Revolution. That's where Prince of Orange set up his first parliament. So we've got out the vehicle, had a look at it, and there's a big stone outside, and said, this is where the army marched. This is the actual, and there were 4 cottages, and that's where he convened, and they started to work out their plan of going forward. And after that, they went to Exeter, some other places. But just to make sure you're aware, and again, I ain't earning money out of this. I'm just, if you're interested, this is crucial to England, right? It's a fantastic book, and it's that one there, right? This is an original copy, A Kingdom Without a King. And it tells you, and it's the Journal of the Provisional Government in Revolution in 1688. And then it tells you all about the details of it, right? And what I'm going to do is just tell you who this guy is. So, A Kingdom Without a King, the Journal of the Provisional Government in the Revolution of 1688 by Robert Bedard, Oxford. And it goes all the way through it and tells you the real actual history. It shows you, you've got all the real photos of him. If you go down to Brixham, you'll see that everywhere, right? Which is that's literally overlooking. I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but that's literally because there was a big storm at the time. But he's overlooking the warships in Torbay, right? But this tells you the real history, right? And it's a fascinating read. By the way, I want to read it again. I read it before when I was at the other place. I think probably would have read that a few times now. And then there's this one, right? So this has lost its cover, another original. I can't remember when that one was. I think that was in 1988 it was published. Don't forget, this is all the tricentenary. And this one is the Declaration, all about the Declaration of Rights. So look on your screen and you will see that. If anyone wants to buy something like that again, this is again the original book. It's signed inside, 1981. The Declaration of Rights. Right. And then again, why is this book fascinating? Because it gives you, do you know, I keep telling you that you've got three sets of things that happened. You had a Declaration of Reasons. It's a trilogy, the Glorious Revolution. You had a Declaration of Reasons. You had a Declaration of Rights, which is the private rights, so the torts, and it was the original contract that Sir William Blackstone spoke about, and is well known in the laws of England. But again, as you go into there, it says, it tells you everything. It tells you what happened, the Rights Committee in the House of Commons, the leaders of the Rights Committee in the House of Commons. So it tells you who the people were. Most people out there don't know it. So like saying to you, if I was to say to you, Lord John Summers, that's the equivalent to saying to someone in America, George Washington, right? But most people, we're not taught this anymore, right? It's crucial to our history. Leaders of the Rights Committee, rights in the Declaration of Rights, and then it tells you that there is a political and intellectual context to this. Prince William and King James used the press, decision to call a convention, the elections to the convention, rights and reform pamphlets, and it goes everything, and it tells you everything. But beauty of this, which people don't understand, there's 2 elements of why I wanted to show you this tonight. So a lot of the information I was getting, can you see that it's bookmarked there? It goes through the 27 heads of terms, right? So the Bill of Rights is 13 because they didn't have enough room and enough time to write it all out. But the actual declaration, everything's in there. But that elections of members of parliament ought to be free. Yeah. And then it goes into detail of why, and it tells you a bit more about what's going on there. Now, there's another one. Let me make sure I've got this right. Article 10, excessive bail. It gives you all, but it's the in-depth and detailed information of what the discussions were, and it gives you the references that you can go back to, right? And it tells you where to get that information from our archives, right? That's why it's such a fantastic read. And again, Article 7 is in there, right? You won't be able to see it on the screen. I need to get another camera set up so I can show you this stuff on the screen. But Article 7, that the subjects which are Protestants may have arms for their defence suitable to their condition, right? Which means how much they can afford and as allowed by law. It explains in this book what the debate was about as allowed by law, right? And you need to take it from the actual debate and the archive. And what they were saying was, this is an existing right of the English. They should never have been disarmed in the first place by the Catholics. They have always had the right to defend themselves, their family, their property, and the nation, right, or the realm, as they called it. And here's the kicker. The discussion was, they started talking about, there was no discussion on murders as such, right? They said that it's unlawful. However you murder someone, whatever you use, it is unlawful, right? You're going to get done for murder and hanged, right? But the main discussion and what the Lords was more worried, this is the key part, what the Lords was more worried about was peasants, armed peasants, right, coming onto their land and stealing their deer, hunting their deer, hunting their boars, because they wanted that food, right? And then we had something else, which this declaration protected, which was the Charter of the Forests. Has everyone heard of the Charter of the Forest and the rights that it gives us to food, and said this is the way we're going to do it? So this was actually protecting, in effect, the working class, right? Not the middle class, but the working class. And again, all of this information is in these books. Now, why is it important to mention? This is actually written by a German, right? And it's one of the most accurate books I've ever read. And the reason it is better is because it isn't written by someone who has been brainwashed by the British or the Jesuits. He's wrote the real history and given you the real information that you need, and that book in particular, right, is vital if you want to understand what our rights are and where they come from. Let me put that back in there. I know where it is next time. So again, what was fantastic, and it was fantastic, was seeing all that down there. I come home and I was buzzing, right? Just being in Devon, obviously I've escaped London now, but just being here and being close to the history, it brings it to life. And the vast majority of the Devon people are really lovely people, right? Friendly, etc., as you would expect. What's the German name? I'll read it out to you in a minute if I forget. I will get the champagne on ice. Let me have a quick look. And who's out? Oh, the wee man is out there. That's right. Evening, brothers and sisters. Good evening. I hope the word is getting out there about Restore. More and more people are listening and talking about Restore at the moment. So I'm going to go on to that in a couple of minutes. But I do want to try and show you something. I'm not even sure if I can find it on this one. If I can't find it on that one, I'm sure I can find it on this one. Right, because I sent it out earlier. Here's one I made earlier. Can you be a pagan and a constitutionalist? Can you be a pagan and a constitutionalist? That's a. You can, but the Constitution is Christian. So, could you be a pagan and a member of Parliament, or hold any authority? Remember, a constitutionalist, we would bring back a non-secular, unless there was an agreement, some sort of agreement with indigenous religions. And what I mean by that is pagans, which I doubt would, because it would complicate things. But the only way you can be a member of Parliament is you swear an oath, and it's a Christian oath. So it doesn't affect you. You could still be a constitutionalist. You could still want to live as a Christian does, if you want to call it that. That picture shows account spelt wrong. So I would say dodgy, Tracy. No, it was dodgy. I looked at that, Tracy. It was definitely dodgy. I'm trying to find where I sent that. How did I send that out? Maybe I could go and have a quick look at this. Oh, there it is. It's a Nottingham thing. There's a couple of things I want to show you if I can. Right, I'm going to skip a lot of this, but I do want anyone and everyone to go and have a look at this. Let me pull out the link to it, and I will show you in a couple of seconds. Paste. Let me go back to my studio and put this on there. Restore England. More and more people, by the way, are talking about the restoration of England, and now talking about we have a constitution. I've now started promoting the fact that judges should be dealt with constitutionally, and that is they should be impeached and then tried for perjuring their oath, which is a serious offence, and if found guilty, hanged. There's over 3,300 judges in this country. At least 1,000 of them can be proven to have perjured their oath. And what they, in every revolution in this country, we have dealt. It's not just. So let me just make sure I'm clear on this. The Constitution doesn't just deal with crooked politicians or a crooked monarch. It deals with crooked, and especially from the Acts of Settlement and the English Bill of Rights, it deals with crooked judges. And every revolution in this country, in some way or form, has had to deal with the dodgy judges. King Alfred is probably the best well known, where he hanged 44 judges, and hundreds more were exiled from the nation because of their crooked and bad judgments. Right. So when any form of ideology takes hold in the way it has today in England, there is a constitutional way of dealing with it, and we have a separation of powers without any doubts whatsoever. And one of them separation of powers, Majesty Queen said it in July 20th, 1988, in a declaration to Parliament, as I mentioned earlier. That's on Hansard. You can all go and read exactly what she said. And she said, we have an independent judiciary. Well, if they are no longer independent of Parliament and nod through everything, and by the way, the monarch does the same thing now, you've got two of the powers that have basically relinquished their power and pushed it over to Parliament. And they are invariably middle-class people or upper-class people, right? And obviously the monarch is the highest person in the land and can do no wrong, except, again, I've mentioned this before, Article 61 of the Magna Carta, and there is something else, and the something else is perjuring their oath, because that was dealt with by the Constitution. But I'm going to show you something. Let me see if I can actually put this on the screen for you. I'm hoping you're going to be able to hear it. right? I'll show you the first part.
Do you remember a few weeks ago when I made a slightly facetious joke and said that it seemed like the media were more interested or more concerned about young, attractive people dying than slightly wrinkly men? It's definitely a thing. Anyway, I made that comment in reference to Valdo Calocane, yet another foreign killer who was left to his own devices by a nakedly prejudiced British justice system until he did what so many of these people do, that get treated with kid gloves, and ended the lives of a lot of innocent people in an extremely predictable and entirely avoidable manner. Well, they've just started finishing up the inquest into his death. Two of his sons were in court giving evidence, and frankly, some of the things that have come out from it have been genuinely damning, as you might expect, because it turns out what I was joking about seems to have been true all along. If you're young and attractive or of an ethnic minority background, you're important to the government. But if you're male, pale and stale, nobody cares. Son learned of stab victim's death through Instagram. Instagram. Can you imagine that? The only thing I think that could be possibly worse than that is strippergram. Badly dressed female police officer turns up at your house, tells you your dad's been splattered by an imported African immigrant, and then flashes you a baps, thinking it'll make you feel better. Don't really think I'd be in the mood, to be honest. Right, everyone, there's Ian Coates. You know who he is. You know what he looks like. Obviously, my audience pays attention to the world. You're sick of seeing Valdo Calocane, so I won't bother putting him up again. Suffice it to say, he was yet another imported killer who the British government constantly treated with kid gloves up until he went a wee bit too far and ended a bunch of people's lives needlessly. What's the most rage-inducing of this story, though, is the details related to how the authorities responded to this awful atrocity. I'm assuming it's harder to manage such things when you've been briefed by the government and the coppers and the lawyers that every single thing you do has to drip with DEI shite. So probably the first thing they were thinking of wasn't how do we take care of the survivors, sugar the pill before we drop the bad news on the relatives. They probably weren't thinking any of that, were they? The main thing they were thinking of, how do we hide the facts so the British public don't find out who did it? How do we keep it on the down low and hope that, you know, we can drop it in with a major news story about Trump or something, and therefore as few people as possible will ask any questions?
I'm going to stop it there for a sec because I want to take you to the end of the video, and I don't want to take liberties with Angry Bootnick's content, right? I watched this today. He just tells it as it is, right? When he starts to go on a rant, I was like, that's exactly what I've been saying. And then there's this fellow that's on the screen who's now obviously deceased, murdered. His body was left in the road or by the pavement for 15 hours. Right? Just think that his family, he was just laying there for 15 hours, right? But I'm going to go to the end part of this video. I don't know how much time we've got to put on there, but I'm going to show you this part because it's where he talks about another element, but he starts talking about the police, and he says something that's quite profound. He actually says the police of today are not the same as the police of the 1970s. And I absolutely agree. Although there were problems with corruption, right, in the 1970s, you had Operation Countryman, etc. But in the main, police were managed differently. They had a different attitude to the public, etc. And they was, on the whole, wonderful people, right? So I don't want anyone out there to think I'm having a pop at any of the old school, because we've got plenty of our members who are ex-police officers, right? John Hurst, personal friend of mine, ex-police officer of 30-odd years and a firearms officer, right? We got on fantastically, but what I'm going to do is show you this part. I think this is basically where he starts to...
Before I have a stroke, James added that he was astounded by further revelations at the inquiry about missed opportunities and police conduct. He also criticised victim support services, said nobody was offered any therapy, but then they got told they could have a yoga instructor. It's unbelievable. I'll tell you what, we'll stop it there. A yoga instructor. It's unbelievable. We stitched you up, we lied to you, we manipulated you, we mishandled your father's corpse. Every single thing we did was pure evil. But, I mean, you can look at this yoga instructor's flaps if you want. You might enjoy yourselves, boys. No, that doesn't take the edge off. Ian, God rest his soul, got killed, murdered in cold blood, not just by Valdor, but by the British government, the Home Office, hundreds of civil servants, Philip Rutnam, he's still my nemesis, and dozens of political activists, judges, open borders enthusiasts, wankers that read The Guardian, BBC journalists, and everybody else that has worked together in the last 25 years to stir this pot, create this awful rat stew that is lawless Britain, packed to the rafters with the dregs of humanity from all four corners of the globe, and then covering for them and enabling the behaviour and slapping them on the wrist again and again and again and again and again, and then letting them do as they please, and this is the end result. Anyone who's watched this channel for more than a few months is aware of it. I'm sick of covering these stories. There's thousands. There's a black kid in Newcastle slashed some lad to death, and he got let out of jail after 2 years to make room for Lucy Connolly. Look it up. Look it up. Actually, that's a bit lazy. There it is. Carlos Neto and Lawson Natty. Stone Cold Killers let out after no time at all, because that's the country you live in, okay? They're the important ones. They're the first-class citizens. They're the creme de la creme. And this man are the bottom rung, sacrificed on the altar of political correctness by people that despise you, your wives, and your children, okay? I don't mince my words, but I tell you no lies. If you disagree with any of that, what I've just told you, please let me know in the comments, because I love reading absolute shite typed by the dumbest people on planet Earth. All right, thanks for tuning in, ladies and gents. Like it and share it if you can be bothered, and I'll see you all tomorrow. All right, toodle pip. Cheers.
But the major point here is that if you watch the whole video, he launches in and starts talking about how many police are corrupt and they're still on the streets. How many police have been arrested for rape? How many police have been arrested for drug dealing? How many police officers have murdered people, right? And they're within the force. And it's becoming obvious that whatever way they're employing these people, they are targeting psychopaths and criminals to join the police, right? That's what they're doing, and we are now seeing the brunt of that. So hopefully everyone saw that. I'm going to stop sharing it and go back to my screen. But what I am saying, it is a fantastic video. Alex Belfield has been recalled to prison. Expert low for King. Nottingham inquiry exposes. DD, have you seen Rich? Rich does politics with Andrew Bridgen and EM? No, I haven't. I like EM, but he is. We have such a conflicting opinion about the monarchy. I don't watch anymore. He's a nice fella, but anyone who tells me, especially if they're external to this country, that our monarchy has been captured, the monarchy has handed over its prerogatives to Parliament. Parliament is the one taking liberties, and the only way of taking it back is to, my own personal opinion, is to have an elected president with the same prerogatives of the original prerogatives, I may add, of the monarchy, which is exactly what they've done in America. So the how we exported the system to America, we need to bring back with some tweaks. And by the way, they need a few tweaks over there. But anyone who says the monarchy is a good thing, definitely not. 100% definitely not. And especially when you see people, the king's family, Prince Andrew for one, being an out and out nonce. King Charles being best friends with Jimmy Savile, and he is. Let me tell you something. The king has got more protections. He's got MI6, MI5, the entire police force. There's whole groups of people protecting that royal family, and you're telling me that none of them knew he was a nonce? I don't think so, right? And he's pals with him. He knighted him. And by the way, the Roman Catholic Church, via the Pope, also knighted Jimmy Savile, and he retains in death that knighthood. The Roman Catholic Church haven't taken it off him, even though he's dead. Whereas at least the outrage was such that they took the knighthood off him. DD, you should watch. If he quotes you, Brixham was astonished. He backed. Let me have a look. Was astonished. He backed you up. Did he mention me on that? Not well. Listen, I'm just me, like I say. But there is something else I wanted to try and show you. I'll tell you what. I will bring it up tonight because I think it's important. But there's some other bits I want to try and cover as well. And I'm waiting for something else to drop into my mailbox. Let me just try and think how I want to play this. I'll just see a message from Tracy. Right, I'm going to show you this. Right, hopefully you can see this. Now, I've done a video some time ago, a long time ago, 18 months ago. Right, and I want this. I've got to try and get it's on my other laptop, but I need to. So before I show you this, I am now crossing out treason above Andrew Bridgeton and writing in there redeemed, right? But and some of the figures in there are wrong, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. Let me see if I can show you. Let me see if I can go and find it. Who speaks for England? This one, right? So I'm going to bring this up on the screen. The full English is on Rumble live at 8 p.m. Right? Deleting England. So I've got Richard Inman, and it's on there saying treason. I've got the other fella next to him. What is his name? You'll give me his name. Like I said, my mind goes blank because I'm codenamed up. You've got Paul Thorpe, treason, and you've got Ben Habib, treason. Right? So out of all of them people, how many of alleging that against them, how many would you now say is bang on the money, right? I like Andrew Bridgen. I think he's naive and most people are at the moment because they're products of the slow march through the institution. But Andrew Bridgen is now getting it. That it is England that's under attack in a big way, right? So as far as I'm concerned, Andrew Bridgen has redeemed himself. So it should say redeemed above that. But if you look at the census of 2011, 67% chose English. Well, actually, it was 57% English only, 67% English British, right? So that's most of the country. And then it was 19% that chose British as their identity. So who speaks for England? So when you look at these people, Richard Inman is widely regarded in Northern Ireland, where he lives, as a state asset, right? What's the other fella's name? You've got it up there. Let me see if I can go and get it over here. Anyone got the names? I'm sure someone's given me the name and I haven't seen it. And he's wishing show that he was forthright bloke, a bit slow on the truth. Well said, Wilnut. Got lost on a homepage for the frog. Let me have a look. John Aspinall's out there. Who else is out there? Landy is probably watching there. John Aspinall, Bam7, Ace Jace, Merry Old England. How you doing, son? Who's that one out there? We've got some YouTubers out there as well. Will the English be on the next? Probably written in blooming Urdu. Jeff, that's his name. Yeah, Jeff Taylor. So I've said that Richard England, Jeff Taylor, Paul Thorpe, and Benjamin Naim Habib are treasonous because they went with this pledge, and that pledge was wrong, entirely wrong. It was unlawful at what they was doing, and what I did was did a show about it and said why it was unlawful. Did I just hear a bleeping noise then? Right, but I want to make sure everyone understands this. That was done 18 months ago, and anyone who goes against England, I'll call them out. Just to make sure everyone is aware. But I think Andrew Brixham is definitely coming around in a big way. Right, and just to make sure everyone's also understanding this, Jeff Taylor, that's it. Just make sure everyone's understanding this. When you talk about Northern Ireland, I believe they should be completely independent and a protectorate of England, which means that we assist them, right? But they should be completely independent. There should be a border. They have their complete own parliament, and they run that country as they see fit. No one else, right? Because you've got Sinn Féin and you've got unionists involved in Northern Ireland, and because you've got the SNP and even Alba in Scotland, who are both lefties, right? So are the unionists, and so are Sinn Féin, who are basically communists in Northern Ireland. And then you've got Wales, right? So you've got Jeff Taylor talking about Wales. And again, they've got a socialist communist problem. And they look at nationalist parties, don't forget, we're not a nationalist party per se. What we are constitutionalists. And part of constitutionalism is nationalism or nationism, right? Is a better way of describing it. So we're not socialists. I believe that we should have the smallest possible government. We should purge the fascists who are on the left, not on the right of politics, and communists from the civil service, and that includes the judiciary. And what these people are doing, except for Andrew Brixham, right, because he is no longer on that screen. If I could find a way of putting something on the screen and just say he is redeemed, right? Because he is now he's understanding that this is an attack on England. It's an attack on England with the regionalisations. So Northern Ireland stays as a region, but it's Northern Ireland. It keeps its identity. And what they're pushing for in the south is a unified Ireland. That will not happen. Trust me, that will not happen. That the Northern Irish will fight. Scotland is exactly the same, and Benjamin Naim Habib, who is a self-declared British Pakistani, it is none of his fucking business. He should go back to Pakistan, all right, and negotiate a peace settlement with Iran, because they're the ones who have got a 900-mile border with Iran, Pakistan, not England, right? So I don't see how it's our issue, and it's only the bad management and the systematic slaughter of our industries and our core industries, coal, steel, etc. That's removed our jobs, and all they've done is export them out. And then you've got Paul Fort, right? I mean, I'm not suggesting. It's just a number of people have said to me. I mean, I know quite a few people in London, but some people have said to me he was the biggest fence of stolen watches in London. Well, maybe you should declare that. I don't like the man at all. I've watched him quite closely. He is my grandparents and even my parents would have probably described him as a spiv, if anyone knows what that means. So during the Second World War, you've got people that had ration books and all that, and you'd have a little deal with a spiv, and he'd sort you out this and that, the other. That's all he is. Like, anyone can do that. But yeah, quite a few people. It'd be amusing to see what goes on with him long term. He lost his bottle at one stage, didn't he? He didn't want to talk about politics. He said, or he said he'd been warned or something had happened, and he didn't want to get involved with it. But we'll wait and see. Falk is paid up, Zionist shill. Yeah, no, I agree. Always follow the money, see where it goes to. Spiv is a good name for Falk. Yeah, no, that is what he is. Slimy con-artist. I can see there's plenty of Paul Falk lovers on here. And again, I did this 18 months ago. I see things that other people don't see, but when they did that pledge, it was disgusting, and that is what Advance UK was doing. I have had discussions with some other people, and they are entertaining into the ideas of independence and getting back to Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales being controlled by lefties, which they are, and it was the English that are paying for it, because socialism has to be paid for by someone, right? And it is England that's being destroyed and England being regionalised. But what's crucially important here for everyone to understand is if we were all independent nations, the only person you can blame is your own elected representatives and your own businessmen and your own people. And if you don't vote in an election, it's your fault. It's as simple as that. There are things I would bring in, term limits, etc. I would reverse the 1911 Parliament Act. When I say reverse, I mean abolish, make void, because I would prefer having businessmen running the country, and I've seen it work in Hong Kong, than what we've currently got, which is a bunch of fuckwits and robbers and thieves. And I do want to say this to everyone listening. I would honestly say I know professional criminals that have more morals and levels of integrity and morals, actual morals, the most or the vast majority of the members of parliament in that house. And yet they sit there and call themselves honourable, right? Most of the types of criminals that I know, and bearing in mind I am, 30 plus years, I haven't been in any trouble whatsoever, not even a parking ticket. I am what's known as completely rehabilitated. Sometimes you go through a little phase in life. I just want to make sure everyone understands this. I know more honourable criminals than the majority of the MPs in that parliament, and I don't know any criminal out there that would accept the nonces in the way that Parliament accepts nonces within its ranks, right? That just doesn't happen in the actual criminal world, right? It happens in the intelligence services. It happens in political circles, but it does not happen. So, when I look at things, I just think something seriously wrong here. Well, when the criminals are more honest than the fucking MPs, but that is the truth. All I'm doing is telling you straight. So on that screen, as I showed you earlier, was that one. Andrew Bridgen. I've been asked a lot of questions about him recently, and he did stand up in Parliament. There were little things that he didn't do, but he didn't understand. None of them do. You can ask a judge, stand up and ask you. This is the bit that really bugs me. If you say to a judge, "Have you ever actually read the English Bill of Rights, which is the cornerstone from Her Majesty the Queen, cornerstone of our judicial system?" And they will tell you, "No, I haven't. It's an ancient act. Why should I read that? Because it's our fucking constitution. That's why." And they've never read the original. If they read the original, they would say that these two elements that were repealed from it they weren't allowed to be repealed, right? And again, we've got to keep pushing this because the communists have done it bit by bit by bit by bit by bit. It's the Fabian way. And the difficult. So let me have a discussion on this because I think I really want to go and talk to someone about this, but whether or not we'll ever get the opportunity. What worries me about Rupert Lowe, and this isn't a personal slight on Rupert Lowe, right, is he has been advised by Black Belt Barrister, who is a product of the slow march through the institutions. He knows nothing about the Constitution, only what he's taught by academics in law that will not tell you, because they often don't know it either, right? No one sat there and gone through the Constitution and going through all the laws. I mean, the secret people on Twitter, and different people are showing it now, and all of a sudden people have started to take some notice. They're saying, "Hang on a minute, you can't do this. We've got a constitution, right?" And it's the state and their entities that are telling you or not. So the people, particularly British barristers, are advising Rupert Lowe. That worries me because if you read the English Bill of Rights, it states in there that the king was being counselled. So in other words, spoken to, educated, informed, whatever words you want to use, by evil judges and evil counsellors. They were misinstructing the king. And what you've got is a situation here where people are misinstructing Rupert Lowe, right? And if they're misinstructing Rupert Lowe, they're misinstructing his team. That's what worries me. And the only real way that we'll ever get around that is full independence and say, right, now is the time that we set up an education system again that doesn't indoctrinate, it educates. And you should understand the beauty of the English constitution and the English people, because we're the greatest nation on earth. Our language is spoken, all over the world. Our legal system was adopted because it is the best social justice system in the world. Will Nuts out there, CC Calvert, user TM4ED LQI, whatever that is. My worry is, how do we, the English people, wait for another times 3 years? That's not going to happen. I can tell you now, I kept saying there'd be an election before next June. If we pass up to this June, I'd be surprised. It can happen at any time. Literally any time. And it could happen well before the 3-year mark. Which is why Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain, I'm pleased that there are so many young people adopting that as a political party. That's fantastic. For a number of reasons. One is they've got the skill sets the computer skill sets, the media skill sets, and what they're saying I largely agree with. Again, they've got to speak of England, but they are doing that. Clive, what are you trying to say? Who's that? Shizzy. I believe that too. Clive, it can't happen. We need to rise now. I reckon. Let me have a look. Funky tattoos. Prince William. Let me have a look at that one. Prince William of Wales is struggling with Christianity. How much of a problem is that going to cause at the coronation? A big one is the answer. Yes, Oliver Cromwell said, keep your powder dry till it's time, rather than let them know your strength. Hopefully Rupert knows his history. Hopefully. That's another thing as well. Evidently, there's a place down there which I'm going to go to where it was the last place. Devon was the last place to surrender to Cromwell, and the place that they signed the surrender documents is just outside Brixham. Mary Olding, are there any true English judges out there? Believe it or not, there are. There are good judges. They're not all crooked, and most of them, like many other people, are too frightened to say anything. And that is why when you get the obvious judgments that are crooked and beyond belief, like people would say, what the fuck is this, right? They need to be tried and tried for perjury in their oath. They need to be impeached. So the constitutional position is that the only people who, from the Acts of Settlement, that can get rid of judges are the Commons. So we would need to impeach the judge. Right, so you need as many people as possible to get elected, and then we can deal. We'll also deal. It'll be like a Cromwell moment and a Glorious Revolution moment, a revolution. But we are trying to do this peacefully. You've got people like Paul Thorpe and others, and there are many others out there pushing. For the civil unrest and pushing that's going to happen. I think people need to be very, how can I put this? By disarming the people, the state is ensured that only the state has access to violence, not you. And they will very simply put weapons in the hands of all them people that are here, right? That are non-English, to finish the English off, and it's going to happen. It is a democratic revolution in some ways, but you've also got issues with that, because the people who really control the elections, apart from the fraudsters at the count, which is predominantly trained by the Fabians, or even just out and out communists. The problem you've got, literally, is that media, because the media is so crooked. I mean, I know people. I know someone who's a personal friend of Andrew Brixham that used to work for a large TV company, and he left. I had a long conversation with him in the last 8 months, funny enough. But I said the press will not be forgiven. The media will not be forgiven. Anyone working for the media, mainstream media are the public enemy number one, because they are the ones who created this. You've only got to look at what happened to Tony Blair, right? When Tony Blair, and they wanted him to become Prime Minister, he had to seek permission of Murdoch. And without the permission of Murdoch, you didn't become Prime Minister. So there's a lot to be said. There's a lot of things that need to change, and I'm not suggesting in any way that it's too big a job. It's not. When you section out any problem and solve each section as it as we need to, from the judges, from Parliament, to the monarchy, the media, banking, you name it, we'll solve it. It's not difficult. It's only difficult because they have got all these barriers in the way of us doing it. Any other questions? I don't want to stay on too long, only because me back. I'm raring to go on a few subjects. What was the other one I was going to show you? I'm sure there was something else I was going to show you. Let me have a quick look. But what I don't want to do is put me back out and I won't be able to sleep again tonight. Just checking, you know it's 4 minutes to 8. That was obviously quite some time ago. I was trying to show that little piece again. I've got to try and... I don't know where it's gone. Oh, I showed you it, didn't I? That's what I mean. These drugs are doing my head in. I want everyone to be out there sharing and pushing out England, get the information out there. And don't forget, on April the 7th, we have a seminar. Coming up in Somerset. Let me find the details. Someone's going to put the details in there on the actual screen for everyone to look at. We got Weston-super-Mare. You're looking wiped out, dude. Get your head down, mate. I feel absolutely bollocks, to put it in a very French way. You need a spinal corset. Fuck that. I need a bird wearing a corset. Ancient English. Hiya, Milking. Sorry to hear rock pause. Still not well. And can you try a small nicotine patch to rule out poison? All that is. Weston-super-Mare, English Constitution Seminar, 7th of April, 7 p.m. Tickets on sale now. So I'm trying to get my back right for that as well. And then there's a potential that I'll be going to Norfolk for the 23rd of April, which is St. George's Day, right? So there's a few things going on in the background. There's lots of things coming up, which I'm really pleased about. But more and more people, let me tell you something, people. People only know because of what you're doing. I'm better off being on other people's shows because some people will be a bit worried about coming on here. I'll give you an example. Bo, who's on Lotus Eaters, he come on my show. I've got no problem with Bo. I like him. He makes me laugh, although we've had some funny disagreements in the past. But Reform kicked him out of the party because he went on my show. That's how bad it is. Let me just make sure you all get this. Reform kicked Bo from Lotus Eaters out of their political party because he came on my show. Just to make sure you're all aware of that, right? That's how bad Reform are. Let me have a look. Evening, came in late tonight. We'll watch later up, catch up. No problem, Marie Mechanic. Let me have a look and see who else is going out there. Carper thing. Don't forget, to all of you, sharing is caring. The more you share this, the more you care. Secondly, subscribe, because we want to get well in excess of 10,000 subscribers on Rumble, right? So if you're watching out there, come over to Rumble, the full English show, and subscribe to us. And sharing is caring, subscribe, and hit the like button, right? It's really important that you do all them things. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button. If you're on YouTube, share this, right? But people are now coming round. They said that they just got rid of Dr. Chris Parry. They've just got rid of him. I'd like to see you on Mike Graham's show. Well, contact Mike Graham. Just say, will you have Graham Moore on and talk about the Constitution and the English, right? That's all we got to say to him. But Mike Graham is the problem with unionists is they've got control of all the systems and won't let the other opinion be heard. And the reason they won't let the other opinion be heard is because they know the audience are going to love it, right? If you was to have a referendum tomorrow on English nationality for England only, because Scotland's already had one, Wales has had national referendums, Northern Ireland's had referendum. The only country that's never had a national referendum is England, right? If you was to ask the English tomorrow, right, you would get a 95% turnout, and most of the people would vote to say leave the union, right? And even the lefties would vote to leave the union once they knew, and you would have to explain it in a certain way to them. You'd say, listen, like, one of the reasons you may not want to vote, because it means if you abolish the acts of union, and you're very clear that you're going to abolish the acts of union, and that's what it stands for, the actual referendum, abolish the acts of union, and it would mean that Israel no longer has authority under the British Parliament. So Israel doesn't exist anymore. The Palestinian petition of 1923 no longer exists. The 1948 petition of the Levant that created the situation we've got now no longer exists. Right, so, it's just one of those things, isn't it? But I know plenty of Jews. I know plenty of Jews in this country that would vote for that. Right? So it's not anti-Semitic. The fucking Jews would vote for it in this country. Right? And that's the bit that I'll get gobsmacked. They're sitting there saying, Graham, you're right. We don't want it to exist. Right? We're happy being the Jews in England. There you go. So, any other quick ones? Charlie Queen's Wales, at the most part, is England Principality. England is a principality, but it happened in 1536. And it was actually a half Welsh king that did that. Right? So, they're all bitching about they're a colony of England. And I see another argument on Twitter with a guy, and he went, no, that's not the case. And Scotland is definitely not a colony of England. That's not what happened. And he was talking about the Union of the Crowns in 1603, blah, 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 blah. So I love people talking the truth. And I said, finally, someone's telling the truth. Right? So everyone should know that. Who is in this union? The union... so there's a number of things that people need to understand about that. Wales technically cannot be released from the union until so there is a process. The oldest process is first, and in that union it was England and Scotland, right? Technically, Ireland was part of England, right? It was a lordship of Ireland. Then it and then there was some other issues, but in 1536 was the early part. So that's between England and Wales, and it was the British Union that brought into effect Northern Ireland, right? But I am strongly of the opinion, and always will be, that Northern Ireland needs to be completely independent and have a hard border. And if we can have a tunnel between Northern Ireland and England, I'd be very happy. Graham et al. Makes what's this? Wilner. Right, Graham et al. Yeah. The Pledge. What was that? The Wee Man. The Pledge was mostly written by a guy called Johnny Yates. I don't know who he is. You'll have to send me details of him. Who is in this union? Somalians, Afghans. Does it apply to anyone living in that place or the place itself? I don't know what you mean by that. Here's the Hamlin lectures, loads to read and learn. How to spoil the vote. How to spoil the vote on a ballot. If you wanted to spoil the ballot on a vote, you would write, I do not consent, and underneath it you can write Ashby versus Wright 1703. Because the full judgment tells you exactly what voting means, and that is why you shouldn't not do it. But if you've got someone to vote for, like Restore, in my opinion, they're ticking most of the boxes. No one's going to be perfect. But it's up to your constituent MP to make Restore perfect for you. Do you understand that? And if they haven't got whips, that's exactly what they'll be doing. So if you're in central Devon and you've got a Restore MP, right, or North Devon, and you've got a Restore MP, the MP is taking note of what you want and what England wants. Well, what you want, what Devon wants, what England wants. But the priority to that Member of Parliament is to you. That's the way it works. That's the way it should work. It's not working like that. And again, whips go against the English Bill of Rights because technically it is interfering with the proceedings of Parliament. That's why they've got a 1, 2, and 3 line whip. They don't tell you what they're actually doing. It's like a code. And the reason it's coded because it's unlawful. Vote Rupert. If we spoiled the vote, what happens after that? Who governs? If enough of you do it, it creates. So if you spoil the ballot, let's say you're in a particular area, I don't know, Central Devon again, right? And you've got a number of candidates, and they count the votes up. At the end of it, they bring all the candidates over, and a returning officer shows you all what they describe as spoiled ballots, right? And if you've got a massive, great big pile of like that is bigger than any or all of the individuals, right? So let's say that they say the candidate that has won is the Conservative candidate with 12,000 votes, right? And then you've got all the other parties kicking in. But say 12,000 votes. If you've got 15,000 spoilt ballots that state on it, I do not consent, Ashby versus White 1703, they cannot return that Member of Parliament because the majority said we don't want any of them, right? And that creates a constitutional hopefully everyone can hear me again. Don't know why it does that, but it did it. It creates a constitutional crisis that can only be put to the High Court and the monarch. So the monarch has to get involved. Queen Anne did when Parliament had a debate about voting, and Parliament was in 1703. Actually, it was earlier than that, but 1703 was hearing, and that's where that come about. And Queen Anne prorogued Parliament. She said, "You haven't got the right to debate the rights of an Englishman. Right? No one give you that right." That's what I mean. People don't know the history of our constitution. Parliament is not sovereign. And by the way, the sovereignty, we are sovereign in the Commons, right? But the sovereignty of England is installed within the separation of powers. And by the way, everyone should understand this. I'm going to say it again. The English Bill of Rights technically is what's known as public law. And again, I mentioned it earlier. If you go against it, you get done for contempt of sovereign and contempt of statute, right? And it's an indictable offence, and you get sent to prison for it outside of Parliament, right? But really importantly, people need to understand that the separation of powers is crucial, and it is the separation of powers, right, which is where David Starkey gets it so wrong, is where the sovereignty lies. It is a shared sovereignty with the monarch, with the judiciary, and with the people. That's the way this country's always operated. And the ultimate sovereignty lies on individual cases criminally with a jury, because they can listen to the facts and the law and basically declare a not guilty verdict, and there is nothing the state can do about it. There's nothing the king can do about it. There's nothing anyone can do about it, and you walk out. That's why jury trials are so important. As long as you're a good communicator. Merry old England, the Constitution ensures the sovereignty of the people. It ensures, certainly since the Glorious Revolution, that you have got a say in the governance of this country, and currently you do not have a say in the governance of this country, in the way that Parliament has taken control, and the way political parties have taken control, and the media have taken control, and the monarch has reneged on its oath, and that's the thing that people need to understand. Right, that's it. I'm off. Good night. God bless. Oh, don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution.